I cannot wait to jump into how you're going to simplify movement as the second pillar for our health. One of the things that I've seen is that you have a 5-minute strength training program that you do every day. And I hugged you when you came in, and I'll tell you, you're pretty jacked compared to when I saw you last time. So what is this 5-minute strength training thing that you do, Dr. Chatterjee?
This is one of the most important things I do each day, and not only for my health. I would say it's also one of the most important things I do for my happiness and my relationships. Remember at the start, Mel, I said that health, happiness, and relationships are not as separate as people might think, okay? So what do I do? And I think it's a useful way of helping people understand the key principles of habit formation. So for over 5 years now, I've been doing several things each morning, but one thing that I rarely miss on is a 5-minute strength workout. Okay, so what does this look like? Okay, I go to bed early and I wake up early. That's just what works for me, right? Yep. But I wake up around 5 o'clock. Again, I'm not saying anyone else has to. It's what works for me. My wife doesn't want to get out of bed till 7 or half 7, right? So we have found what works for us.
Great.
Okay, so I come downstairs and I do happen to meditate. That's the first thing I tend to do, but that's not relevant for this part of our conversation. I go into my kitchen, and one thing I do is I love to make coffee, okay? So I weigh out my coffee, and I pour the water into the French press, and I put a timer on for 5 minutes. In those 5 minutes, Mel, I don't go on email, I don't go on Instagram, I don't go on the news. What I do in those 5 minutes is I have a strength workout in my kitchen, in my pajamas.
What do you do?
Well, I do a variety of things. It started off being body weights. I do some press-ups, some calf raises, some squats. I just do a little circuit in my kitchen, and then I get the gorgeous reward of a hot cup of coffee just the way I like it.
Wait, so you literally do squats, you do push-ups, you do calf raises, so you're going up on your tippy toes.
Yeah, there's a video on YouTube that I've worked off my 5-minute kitchen workouts. These days, I do a couple of other things. I have a kettlebell and a dumbbell in my kitchen. So sometimes I'll do some kettlebell swings. Sometimes I'll do some bicep curls, whatever I feel like. But the point is, I do that 5-minute strength workout every day. I even did it this morning in my hotel room here in Boston, Mel. Okay, and I'll explain why it's so important. It's what I would call my keystone habit.
Okay.
It's a habit that when I do it, it makes it infinitely more likely I'm going to do other healthy choices in my day, right? Every single day, Mel, we're all asking ourselves 2 questions. Can I trust myself? Can I rely on myself? What my 5-minute kitchen workout does for me every single morning is it shows me that no matter how busy my work is, no matter what my wife needs from me, what my children need from me, what my elderly mother needs from me, I still found 5 minutes for myself. It shows me I can trust myself, I can rely on myself. Now, people might go, you know, strength workout every day, do you not vary it up? No, I don't vary it up. Right? Especially when I started. No. Do we vary up toothbrushing?
No.
Right. I hope, Mel, every single person listening right now brushes their teeth for 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the evening.
Well, you know what's interesting about brushing your teeth, and I'm glad you just brought it up, is I just saw somebody else talking about it. I can't remember who it is, and it's a fabulous example that if you go and don't brush your teeth today, you'll have bad breath, you'll notice, but most people around you won't notice. But if you go day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year for 5 years, and you never brush your teeth, like some of them are going to fall out.
Yeah.
You're going to have like snaggletooth mouth. Like you're going to be horrible. Like it's an illustration of something we know intellectually, that the compounding nature of doing something every day actually builds in the negative or the positive dramatically. And your 5-minute workout in the kitchen that I think is just genius. First of all, you already taught us that the brain is an associative machine, meaning it associates certain places and times of day with certain things. And so you're using that to your advantage. You also have set yourself up for success because you now have a kettlebell right there in the kitchen. You have also set yourself up with a stacking of this so that you start the coffee maker, which is something you're going to do regardless of how you feel. Doesn't matter how tired you are, whether or not you don't want to, you're going to do it. And while the coffee's brewing, you don't care that you're not in the latest workout clothes. You don't need a fancy gym. There you are at 5:05 in the morning in your pajamas doing push-ups on your kitchen floor while your coffee's brewing. And it's an illustration of the daily toothbrushing.
100%. And with toothbrushing, the key point I want to make is that we don't apply those principles when it comes to changing our health, right? We make it so difficult and complicated. That's a theme throughout this conversation, Mel. How do we keep it simple? If your audience, Mel, if the person listening to this episode right now, if you take nothing else from this conversation but this idea that you're going to find one 5-minute action and you're going to do it at the same time every day, try it for the next 7 days. I guarantee, like I literally guarantee, because I've seen this tens of thousands of times, not only will you feel better, you will change the way you experience life. You will change the way you view yourself because you build up this momentum. You build up self-esteem. You become someone who can do what they say they're going to do, right? I had a patient. Again, I want to bring this and make this really real because I imagine there'll be people listening, Mel, who think, I'm busy. Like I'm a nurse, I'm a teacher. I don't have time.
Right.
No, you do have time, right? I had a patient, 48-year-old guy. This is maybe 10 years ago, Mel. And he came in to see me with 3 common complaints. Okay. He's a little bit overweight.
Yep.
Okay. And he was pointing to his tummy as he came in. He had a bit of low mood and he had low energy.
Okay.
Okay. There's many things that can cause these things.
I think the person listening's like, I know 6 people like that right now. So you please send them this conversation because you haven't been able to get them to take this seriously. Dr. Chatterjee can.
So I spent a bit of time talking to him, Mel, trying to understand his life and his lifestyle. And there was quite a few things there. And I said to him, hey, listen, there's a few things in your lifestyle that I've identified that I think could be responsible for all 3 of these things. Are you interested in me helping you change some of them?
Yep.
So I always ask permission with my patients, right? I don't just give them advice, say, are you interested? He said, yeah, that'd be great. So I went through all kinds of options. He wasn't biting at any of them. He's like, nah, I don't think that's for me. I don't think that's for me. When I said strength training, his eyes lit up, Mel. Okay, so I'm meeting him where he's at. He's like, yeah, doc, I used to do that at school as a teenager. I haven't done it in years. I've got busy with adult life, basically.
Yep.
I said, I think strength training is going to really help you. I think it's going to help you with your weight, your energy, and your moods. He said, right, great. I want to do it. What shall I do? 45 minutes, 3 times a week in the gym. I said, yeah, that would be fantastic. Great. He goes, right, I'm going to do it. I said, okay, here's an appointment for 4 weeks' time. You go and do that. Come back in 4 weeks and we'll figure out how you're doing.
Okay.
So he goes away and I'm feeling pleased. I think, okay, cool. He's going to go and do that. 4 weeks later, Mel, he comes back into my office and he walks in and his body language is a bit off. He's not making eye contact with me. I said, hey, how was the gym? Has it made a difference? He said, hey, doc, listen, I've not been yet. Okay, work's been really busy. The gym's quite expensive. It's not really on my way to or from work. I've not actually gone yet.
Oh, so now he feels terrible.
He feels terrible. And I remember that case so well, Mel, because it was one of the most instrumental moments in my career. I never thought in that moment, he's not done what I've asked him to do. I thought, Rangan, you've clearly not given him advice that he feels is relevant in the context of his life. So in that moment, I took my jacket off, okay? And I said, right, can I teach you some bodyweight exercises right here, right now? He said, sure. So I literally got down on the floor in my office and I was teaching him press-ups, squats, calf raises. I was modifying them for his ability level.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you think? Can you do that? He goes, yeah, that's okay. I said, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to do this for 5 minutes, twice a week in your kitchen. And he looked at me, he said, what, 10 minutes a week? Is that it? I said, yeah. Can you do that? Because that's easy. I said, okay, great. You go and do that. I'll see you in 4 weeks. Okay, so he goes off. 4 weeks later, he comes back. He's almost dancing into the room, okay? He comes in to see me with a big smile on his face. I said, hey, how you doing? He said, Doc, you asked me to do 5 minutes twice a week. It was so easy. I enjoyed it so much that I now do 10 minutes every evening whilst my dinner's getting ready in the kitchen. So I do 10 minutes, right? That changed his life, Mel, because when I asked him, or when he felt he had to do 45 minutes 3 times a week in the gym, he did 0.
Right.
When he felt he only had to do 10 minutes a week, he's now doing 10 minutes a day. That's 70 minutes of strength training. That then led to what I call the ripple effect. Over the next few weeks, he starts to go for a walk at lunchtime. He starts to cook a little bit better for himself. He starts to prioritize his bedtime. I saw him a few years ago, Mel. This is maybe 5 years after we started. He's now meditating each day. If I had brought up meditation to him 10 years ago, he would have laughed me out of the room,
Yes.
right? Small changes done consistently lead to big outcomes. I've seen it time and time again.
And what I love about what you're teaching us, and I'm sure I speak for you as you're listening to Dr. Chatterjee too right now, is that first of all, I'm like, okay, how can I get you to be my doctor? Because I would like a doctor that takes their coat off and then shows me how to do 5-minute interventions. But it all comes back to this simple principle. There are 4 pillars. We've unpacked food and the importance of how you feel and experimenting and 1 ingredient stuff. Now you have simplified movement and you have made the case that just introducing 5 minutes of movement, whether it's a walk or something in your kitchen, how that changes the course of your life and how you've seen it happen in your patients.
Honestly, if your audience take literally nothing else from this conversation, I want them to take this. Find a 5-minute action, something you've thought about before, something you feel drawn to. I don't care what it is, journaling, meditation, yoga, pull-ups, star jumps, doesn't matter. If 5 minutes feels too much, make it 1 minute, right? But start somewhere and do it for at least 7 days. And if you don't feel differently about your life, sure, ignore everything I have to say.
Well, you and I both know, of course you're going to feel different.
I know they are going to feel different.
Of course.
But you have to do it. Inspiration without action does not lead to change. This is what I see these days, Mel. People listen to your show. They listen to my show. They see a positive Instagram post and a really inspirational meme, and they heart it. They think they've done something. They haven't done anything, right? They move their thumb about 0.5 millimeter on their phone. That's great. Don't get me wrong. But you need to take the inspiration and figure out, well, how am I going to take action in my life?
And you just gave us the actual only way it gets done, because most of us make a mistake in that moment where we heart this video about health and we say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week for 45 minutes. And then you don't, because it's hard to do that. And it's actually more complicated than you think to find the time, to get the clothes, to get into the gym, to figure out what the workout is. And what you're saying is there's a totally different way to go from inspiration to action. Make it as easy as hell. Make it 5 minutes long. Find a trigger like making coffee that you don't even think about, and set up the environment with one simple thing so that you have the things you need right there, and try it for 7 days and you'll be shocked.
Yeah, you will be shocked. And what people don't realize, because I've seen it with so many patients, is they underestimate simplicity, right? I go to the gym sometimes, right? I'll lift things at other times, but some weeks I don't. But I never miss my 5-minute morning action. It's a promise I made to myself. And why do I think that helps your health, your happiness, and your relationships? Because when you make that commitment to yourself, when you make that promise and you keep it, Mel, you do something so powerful, right? It builds you up inside. You become a human being who knows your self-worth.
Yes.
And you take that to your relationships. You take it to your work. You take it to every other aspect of your life. These days, people are struggling with fatigue. They don't have energy. They're struggling with motivation.